Once you have drawn out your shapes in your sketchbook, the next step is going to be to mix your colours. So we're going to need our primary colours, and we're also going to need some secondary colours. So this is where we use our palette, okay, our piece of plastic that we found in our home, or a plate maybe if we have permission to mix colours on, and we're going to use that as a palette. So what I'm going to need to do is to take my colours, and I'm going to use the paintbrush to just put a little bit onto the palette. What I'm not going to do is take the paint directly out of the pot and use it on here. I'm going to arrange my palette first so I'm ready to paint with all the colours that I need. Okay, so using the brush, take a little red and put it onto the palette. So about this much is absolutely fine. You don't need a lot of paint on there. If you need more, you can add more. Once I've done that, I can take my next colours, but I need to clean the brush in between, make sure it's really nice and clean so I'm not mixing and contaminating the paints. So a really good idea to have a little bit of tissue to dry your brush as well. So clean it thoroughly in my pot of water, dry it off, and then I can take my next colour, which will be yellow, and so on until I have all three primary colours on my palette. Okay, so now that you have your three primary colours on the palette, we're going to mix some secondary colours, and I'm going to put my three secondary colours here. I'm going to space everything out so I've got lots of room. One more important tip is just make sure you put the lids back on when you're not using these. If you don't, they will dry out, and then you're going to need to buy some more to take part in the rest of the lessons. If you look after these well, they will cover you for all of the lessons that we have. Okay, so our secondary colours, I take a little bit of the yellow and I clean my brush in between because I don't want to contaminate the red. Okay, and dry it. Take a little bit of the red, mix them together to make my orange. And I want a nice bright orange. I feel like I need a little bit more yellow in here to make it a little bit more orange because the red is dominating a little bit too much. So I clean again and just take a little more yellow and mix that in until I'm happy with that colour. Then I'm going to do the same, taking some blue, some yellow, and mixing myself a green. And I don't actually need a purple today, so I don't need to mix any red and blue together. Okay, so now I have my orange and green secondary colours and my red, yellow and blue on my palette ready to use. I'm just going to take a little bit of white and I'm going to mix up a pink as well. And the way we do that is we mix a bit of red and a bit of white together. Okay, and the final colour that I need on my palette is a brown. And I'm going to make this by mixing a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow and a little bit of blue. Okay, now this one can be a bit tricky to get right, so just keep adding a little bits more until you're happy with your brown colour. Sometimes it comes out a bit too blue and you need a bit more yellow and red, or it's a bit too red and you need a bit more yellow and blue. So just keep experimenting until you've got a nice brown that you can use for this painting. Okay, so on my palette now, I've got a green, a brown, an orange, a pink, a red, a yellow and a blue, and I'm ready to start painting.